Hey y'all, this is an update to my previous video on how to pass the North Carolina Math 1 EOC using Desmos graphing calculator. I will link the North Carolina version of the calculator and the released exam below this video, and I will also post my old video in case there's some questions I don't hit in this one. The biggest and really the only change I know of to Desmos is massive, and it's to really help you with any type of equation of a line problem. And we're going to start that in the very first calculator active question. This question is talking about a statistician collecting data. There's a table of data. When I see a table of data, I'm going to start by, I'm going to go down here. If you hit the plus sign button and hit table, you can enter the data. I went ahead and did that just to save time in this video, so you can see here that the tables match. Always make sure your tables match, because it turns out if you put the wrong numbers in a table, you'll get the wrong answer. So the craziest thing that Desmos is allowing is if you hit this line with the dots thingy, it literally gives you the regression equation. You don't have to do what you used to have to do. It's insane. I can't draw on this calculator screen, but if you see here the word equation, if I hit that button, it drops the equation down there. This is nuts. So anyways, we've got our equation, we've got our R squared, we've got linear. Now, if you wanted to check out all the other different types of regression, you literally just change them. There's quadratic, there's exponential. Those are the only things that are covered in Math 1, but mostly you will see linear regression, and that's what we're going to see here. Because it says they perform a linear regression and plotted the residuals. Now, a residual is the distance a point is from the line itself. And so it says, based on the residual plot, the statistician decided to exclude one data point. They then performed linear regression on the set of remaining points. So they do the residual plot. They're like, hey, we should leave one of these out. Which one should we leave out? And then we're going to regraph it. So it says the result was a new linear model fit the remaining data more closely than the original model fit the data. There's a couple ways to do this. This is probably one of the harder questions, so it's a good thing we're getting it out of the way. One way I would do this is by looking at my line and trying to think about the vertical distance, how far up or down those dots are from my line. And I want to look for the one that seems to be the farthest away. Now, these three bottom ones are real close. These two are less close. And then that one's at the top, to me, seems pretty far away, that 8.5er and that 8.2er. Those are clearly the farthest away from the line as compared to the 6.4, the 5.1, and so on. So what I'm going to do to make sure my math is right is that R value right now is a 0.97. I'm looking at not the R squared, just little r. For linear regression, we care about little r, but you could really use both of them. And I'm going to delete, so I'm going to write down on my test. I'm going to be like, okay, what was that? 10, don't fail me now. All right, so I had 0.94, shoot, I messed up. 9728. Okay, so then I'm going to delete 8.5. I'm going to pretend like that's the one we decided to get rid of. Now my R is 9.9738. That's better. It got stronger. Closer to 1 is better. So now I'm like, okay, well, what if 8.2 was actually making it worse? So let's put 8.5 back, because it said they're only getting rid of one of them. So I put 8.5 back. I got rid of 8.2. Now that R is 0.9999. That's so much better. That means, that was kind of confusing that I circled that. What that means is getting rid of 8.2. No, circling was fine. Getting rid of 8.2 made it stronger, right? When I got rid of 8.5, it got better a little bit. But when I got rid of that 8.2 point, that's no longer in my table, it got way stronger. So it says, which one should they exclude? They should exclude 8.2. Now, had I looked at my answer choices, I wouldn't have wasted time trying to get rid of 8.5. And then I could have gotten a little bit faster. You could try this out by excluding each of the answer choices and seeing which of those got the R value closer to 1. But any hoozy. All right, so the next calculator trick I'm going to show you is in my last video, but I'm going to show you again in case you've never seen that one. So if you have a bunch of data points like this one, it's talking about mean and median in the answers. So I am going to go to my functions. I'm going to go down to stats, hit mean, and I'm going to be like, okay, 8, 11, 12, 10, 9, 7, 5, 3, 9. And I get the mean of that data list. So I have 8, 11, 12, 10, 9, 7, 5, 3, 9. It's very crucial to check things. So I've got my mean is 8.2-ish. Then I'm going to go ahead and find my median. And I'm literally just going to delete mean and type in median. There's a button on that functions list, but I'm trying to do this faster than that. And I get 9. Okay, so now let me read the directions. So that's probably a better place to start. It says, what is going to be true if a 10th data point of 45 is added to the data set? Now, I used to tell my students, hey, don't guess this, just do the math, like just type it in and see. Okay, well, when I added 45 to the list, my median stayed 9. All right, let's change this back to mean and see what happens there. I spelled man. All right, so mean, we have 11.9. It went from 8.2 to 11.9. So we know the mean increased and the median stayed the same. And so that would be C. All right. Okay, 18, another great one for linear regression. This really crazy thing that the state of North Carolina and Desmos has decided to let you have. Wild. So I'm going to type in this data table, and I know I'm going to do that because in the problem, it's talking about y-intercepts, and it's talking about a quadratic and a linear function that passes through the points in the table. So that is why I know that I can use linear, because it says so. So you do have to read carefully. The calculator can't help you do that, unfortunately. You still have to be very careful about what the directions are. So it says, what is the distance between the y-intercept of the quadratic? That's that thing right here. I know it's quadratic because it has an x squared. And the y-intercept of the linear function that passes through the points in the table. So I put the table in, I hit this magical, sorry, I haven't quite gotten my new zooming feature done, magical line button, and you do have to know some math here. You see the equation, under equation, it says y equals 0.6x plus 5. You have to know that the y-intercept is the 5. That's our b value. All right, now, maybe you know that in quadratics, the c value is the y-intercept. That would help you, but if you didn't know that, okay, we could type that in. You don't have to put f of x. I'm going to be lazy and just do y plus 7x, but you'd get the same result either way. And I'm going to look to see where it crosses the y-axis, and I tap that dot, and it says negative 18. I can also tap that blue dot, the blue line, and I see 5. So either way, I can see they're both crossing the y-axis at 5 and negative 18. And so it's saying, what is the distance between them? That is, how far would you travel from negative 18 to get to 5? And so that's just 18 plus 5, because you go 18 up to 0 and then 5 more. And so your answer here should be... All right, solving regular old equations in the calculator. To my knowledge, you cannot just type this thing into Desmos. You can in regular Desmos, but not in testing mode. So I type it in, and I get a caution sign. You're not allowed to do that. So what we do instead is we're going to set each side equal to y. So y equals, I typed in the left side of the equation. Then I'm going to do y equals, and I'm going to do the right side of the equation, 10x plus 4. I'm going to make sure I'm not accidentally clicking like a y-intercept or something. And I'm going to tap that dot where they cross. I only want the x value because I'm solving for x, and the x value of that ordered pair is 1. Again, you have to know enough about math to know that like an ordered pair, the x comes first, and that's the 1. But if you know that part, it solved it for you. Mind blown, crazy. Okay, another super easy peasy one to use the calculator for. It's mind blowing they let you use the calculator for this question. If you have a system of equations like this, you're just going to type them in the calculator. So I have like 2x plus 2y equals 16 and 4x. Sorry, I probably shouldn't keep saying that. It's mind-blowing or they're going to take it away. I didn't say that. All right, so these cross. The first set crosses. That means they have a solution. So one solution goes in that box. All right, then I have equals, which I will say, most of math is knowing how to use your tools. So it's important to know how to use your tools to be able to be successful. This is 16, and this time, all I see is one line. One line means they're the same line. That means infinitely many. Now, if you're a good test taker, you're not going to stop there. You're going to put this here, and this here. And you're just going to make sure you didn't make a mistake on the other two. So I see that they don't cross, and so then that means they don't have a solution. So you still have to know things about math, right? You still have to know, if they don't cross, that means they don't have a solution. If they are one line, that's infinitely many. You have to know those things. But you don't have to actually sit down, and the old school way of doing this, you would have had to solved or gotten them both equal to y, and that would have just been a pain. All right, I love the next question because I used to think as a teacher this was going to be the hardest one to get my kids to understand. And if you use the calculator, it's a lot easier. So it says, which equation represents the line that is perpendicular to the graph of? Okay, so the graph of, well, let's see the graph then. Equals 9. All right, there's the graph of that line, and we said it passes through, the one we're looking for has to pass through -2, 3. Okay, so the rules of this answer is that it has to be perpendicular to the line that I just graphed, and it has to go through that red dot. Those are the rules. Now, what you have to know mathematically, so why it's still a math test, even though you have this awesome tool, is that it has to go through the red dot, and it has to be perpendicular, which means it cuts at a right angle, so a 90-degree angle. So let's just start putting the answer choices in. 3x minus 4y equals -18. If you sing it, it makes it more fun. All right, we have it going through the red dot. So we're not going to eliminate it. But to me, it doesn't exactly, it doesn't exactly look like 90-degree angles to me, but it is very tilty. So let's just keep trying. So A, it could be it. All right, so now we have 3x plus 4y equals 18. Doesn't even go through the red dot. Slash it. All right, so now we have 3x minus, and also see how I'm not deleting every time. I'm looking to see what's different in my answer choices to save me some time. Does not go through the red dot. Cross them out. All right, now we're changing this back to plus and changing this to +6. And this one goes through, but it's 100% not perpendicular, right? They cross and down there, and it's just 100% not making a right angle. So it has to be A. Voila. All right. That would kind of be helpful in the calculator, but we're going to skip that one. I'm just going to I'm going to go through the very direct ones with you. Not all of them. I love 28 also. This is another wild thing about Desmos. I love Desmos so much if you can't tell. You can actually type in A sub n, I think. A of n, rather. Let me do it exactly the way it's written, and then we'll figure it out if it doesn't like that. It might want you to do f of n. So then we have 3. That's a v. And then -7. Okay, so the problem says the function, blah, 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 represents the value of the nth term in a sequence. What is the sum, adding, of the first and the fifth terms in the sequence? Okay, we need the first one and we need the fifth one. And it says it gives us the equation of the nth one. So we're going to do this. Well, what's a of 1? That would be the first one. -4. What is a of 5? 8. Well, I got two options here. I can do -4 plus 8. I could have also just gone ahead and done a of 1 plus a of 5. And I get 4. Either way, 4 is the answer. Awesome. Desmos rocks. Okay. Another super Desmos-y question. We have f of x. F of x. Remember, f of x is just y. Don't let that freak you out. It just means like we use f and g instead of just both being y to say like, hey, these are different functions. It doesn't like have a deeper meaning. So don't let it be deeper than that. Okay, we have a parabola, a U-shaped graph, quadratic, and we have a line, and it says which select the points at which the graph of the two functions intersect. Well, they're going to cross twice. -320. -20. Voila. And let's see where this one crosses. 235. I'd have two answers, but I didn't even have to think. This is amazing because we just put it in the calculator. Like, really, if you know the calculator, you are really setting yourself up for success here. All right. Let me see if there's any much. This is another question using the table. I'll do it one more time. So we have 10. This is just going to take forever. Maybe you could. This is a good chance for you to follow along with me. You could like pause and do it yourself. If not, hopefully I can just entertain you with my random commentary. Okay, 73.7 and 60 and I'm being fast, so hopefully I don't mess up. If I do, leave it in the comments below and I'll apologize. All right, so I'm here, got my stuff in a table. Normally I would be more careful reading back over them, but we have problems to solve. So I get my equation and I get the equation as y equals 0.2-ish plus 62.7-ish. And I see both of those things in the answer choices. So I'm going to eliminate B and C because I don't see either of those. Then it says, what's the meaning of the slope? Again, they let you use this magical tool because you still have to know things. And so you have to know that slope is the first number, the 0.2. And that answers the question for you. That's crazy. But also, we have to read the question. It says life expectancy at birth. So slope is the rate of change. And so we would have to know that means it's changing about 0.2 per year. The 62.7, I was looking at the first point. 62.7 is representing the Y-intercept, and that's about the starting point. So if the question had been reversed, it would have been that one, but it's D. Okay. Number 33 is a great calculator problem. We have Abby scores these grades on her first 4 history quizzes. What score does she need on her 5th one to get an average of 91 on her history quizzes? Okay, I am straight up guessing and checking with my answer choices. So I'm going to put in her first 4. 87, 93, 96, 89. And then I'm just going to put the answer choices in until one of them gives me a 91. Okay, wow, it's A. Now, again, being a good test taker, you're not just going to be like, got it, circling A, moving on with my life. You're going to just make sure the other ones aren't 91. As you can see, I'm typing them in. None of them were, and so I checked all of them. It truly is A. I can feel good about myself and keep going. Okay. 35, this is a quadratic. The math knowledge you must have here is that solutions to a quadratic are where they cross the x-intercept. You know what? X-axis, but there's 2 ways to do this one. You would have to get it equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, though, you can actually just set it equal to what it's equal to. And you can go look for it. I'll show you both ways. So I just put in y equals the left side, y equals the right side. So I set it equal to the 121, just like we did in the linear equation before. I look at normally if you're in home mode, you're not going to see the other line. You're like, well, I don't know. Well, it's supposed to be equal 121, so we should probably zoom out to 121. There we are. And it says, what are the solutions to the equation? So it's crossing at 1 and it's crossing at 12. Now, I know they're both comma 121, but we're looking for the x values. So those are those first numbers, and that would be D. The second way to solve this problem would just be to put minus 121 at the end, because the 121 is on the right side. We're used to getting them equal to 0. So if I just put minus, it means I moved it over. And then if I go to the x-axis, I tap them there, 1 and also 12. Okie dokie. There's so many you can do in Desmos. The table below shows the number of hours 7 students studied for a math test and the grade each student earned. How does Amanda's test score compare to the score predicted using the linear best fit model for a student who studied 3.5 hours? Okay. When you see linear best fit, or you see the word regression, or even if you just see the equation of a line, you're typing it in here. And I know I said I was only doing one more, but I do think that this is like such a crucial skill that if you know this, you're just going to get a lot of questions right. And who doesn't want that? So, be doing this with me. Maybe pause and get your table set up, because if you don't do it yourself, you're not going to remember it on test day. I'm just here to tell you. All right, so I double checked my list very quickly. If I messed up again, just leave it in the comments. I tapped that magical line. If you didn't see it, I tapped the line with the dots in the left-hand corner. I get my equation. It's linear because it says linear. There's the equation. Then I have to actually know some things. So it says, what did it do? How does Amanda's test score compare to the score predicted using the linear model? The model is what we just found, that equation thing. Now, it's not going to let me circle it, but if I tap next to the word equation, under the box it says linear regression in the purple squiggly line thing, there's a little equation. And if I tap the little arrow pointing to the spreadsheet, it drops the equation down for me, okay? So, it says, someone that studied 3.5 hours. I need to change X to 3.5. So I'm going to go to X. I'm going to put parentheses. I'm going to type in 3.5 close parentheses. That is her test score at 3.5 hours for the predicted score. The score itself at 3.5 hours, looking at my table, is either 95 or 93. Amanda. See, this is where reading is important. All right, so Amanda, I was like, there's 2 people, is got a 93. And so it says, what is the difference between the one that was predicted and her real one? And it says, how does her test score compare to the predicted? So I'm comparing 93 to 94. Well, 93 is lower than 94. So I'm looking at the bottom 2 options because she scored lower than was predicted. The equation in the calculator is the predicted. And so, actually, I don't even have to, and then it's about 2, right? 94.67 is about 2 lower than that. Or sorry, 93 is about 2 lower than 94.67. Okay. You have to know too many things for that. That's not, the calculator can only help you so much. All right, this one is so calculatory, it's not even funny. Like, you have to know nothing but how to type buttons. Okay, here we go. Well, I guess you have to know what an x is. So it says f of x equals 3x plus 7 g of x. That's a q. G of x equals 2x plus 12. This video is getting too long. I'm sorry. All right. And then you want to just click where they cross and it says what's x. So again, you have to know the first number is the x, but that's the answer. Now you notice y is there. That's because they like to trick you. They are evil in that way. All right. Okay. Another one. I have to do this one. I know the video is getting too long. This is like, if you can do this, you're going to get a question right without knowing any. This is not, are you good at math? This is, are you good at following directions? And did you watch this video and remember it? You literally just type this in. Like, typing buttons isn't being good at math, right? It's just knowing how to push buttons. So I type G of 30. It literally does the problem for you. That is mind-blowing. And then you're like, okay, it's 71.8. And you just got it right without doing any mathematics. Crazy. All right. I am going to stop here. I will link my old video because I think I go even longer and do like all of these. But the main change in the calculator, again, is really only the plus sign table thingy. And that when you type in your stuff, like let me just make up one. Like let's just say we had 2 points, 4, 3, and 6, 10. I don't know. Is that you can hit that line and it gives you the equation. So even if it doesn't say regression or line of best fit, and it's talking about any line and you have any 2 points, you can use this skill and it will help you get the question right. I will also link my no calculator version below this video. It's old and even worse quality than this one. I'm working on it. Sorry. Hopefully the state of North Carolina will release us a new exam because it's absolutely ridiculous that this one is the same one we're still using and it was from 2018. Come on, state of North Carolina, if you're watching this. Have a great day. Bye. Good luck on your test.